So welcome all for the creator series, and today it's about the wealth management and how to create the wealth mainly for women. That is, I can remember when I was 22 and I joined for my first job. I really don't know how to save my wealth and how to create my asset, and that actually made me to be a spendthrift, and I have spent a lot. But now in this generation, I can see a lot of women taking a lot of time for saving their assets, wealth, filing their tax, and lot number of stuff is happening. So today's series is all about how women can create their wealth and they can be much competent in saving their finance and become much more richer. So we are welcoming today Manoharan, and we call him as Mano, who is a financial expert, and he has helped me personally in some of my tax filing stuff as well as some of the schemes which I can take, and those are really nice stuff which I have here from him. So please, we are welcoming you, and thanks for your slot, Manu. So let's start with the queries. Some of the questions which we had, so that you can give your inputs, how we can deal with that.
Sure.
Yeah. So first question is about when actually a girl starts to get her first paycheck. What actually the first advice you would give to bring in a financial discipline for her?
Probably I may sound pessimistic, but the first thing you should do is get yourself insured.
Okay.
I mean, the first thing, like the advantage of having an insurance is at least you are mitigating the probable loss which may occur in the event of any eventuality which may happen in future. So what I suggest is, first thing, the moment you get your first paycheck, you find a financial advisor who can advise you with respect to where to put your money, which policy you're supposed to take. I'll advise better you go for a term plan. You know, you pay a less amount of premium and you have a better coverage. And the earlier you take, the lesser the premium. So by any standard, if a person of 22, 23, 24 takes a policy in the initial stage of life, he may has to shell out close to say 3,000 or 3,200 rupees for 50 lakhs policy.
Okay.
But as the year progresses, as you age, the premium keep on rising. So in that way, the first and foremost thing which you're supposed to do is take an insurance policy.
Okay.
Subsequently, taking insurance policy, once you're done with it, it's better you prepare a budget. What you want to save and what you want to spend. Why saving and spending is equally important, because you cannot save the entire amount, at the same time you cannot spend the entire amount.
Yeah.
There are many people who say that I want to enjoy my life, and what's the point in saving till the age of 60 or early or beyond? So but my blunt answer is, he says, I mean, like his query will be, or his point of argument will be, what if I don't live up to 60? And my argument will be, what if you live up to 60? Like, the thing is, if I have 50 rupees today, I need 50 rupees tomorrow also. If I consume the entire 50 today, what will happen to tomorrow? So in that way, be frugal with your expenses and be lavish with your savings.
Okay. Okay. That's really good, because even I was one such kid who was asking this kind of question, and I have spent a lot from my paycheck in the initial years what I was doing. But it would be really good. So one is
The
the
spending is not as bad as what people think. But the problem is, you will not get rich.
Yes. You
The other person will get rich.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's always better that you plan in such a way that you go for your needs, not for your wants.
Yes, exactly.
Like it's what happened. No, like people generally tend to behave in a way that he has done, so I should do it.
Yes.
I mean, the way he has come up and the way you have been brought up, it may differ.
Yes.
His aspiration may differ from you. Don't try to copy him.
Yeah. And somewhere I also saw that women prone to spend a lot. That's something, articles also on that front. But while spending on the cosmetics and all those sides, still they also spend for their assets. When I say asset, they think gold. Mainly in South India, also in India, we spend more in saving in gold. right? In
Yeah.
fact, let it be my grandmother, mother, and my mother-in-law. My mother has not worked, still she saved in gold, and my mother-in-law, who worked and retired, she also saved in gold. So I hope that happens everywhere. Even now, I spend some amount in gold for savings. So, what is the one which you would recommend for current generation ladies, that smart way to invest in gold? And is it really important to save in gold?
Gold historically has been an asset class which has always beaten in inflation. Inflation means the decrease in the value of money because of the factors which reduces the implication. Like if suppose to 10 years ago had you bought something for 10 rupees, it is not a guarantee thing that today also it will fetch you for 10.
Yeah.
The intrinsic value of money is reduced.
Hmm.
You can like put it like no, bearing your mobile cost.
Hmm.
Other things have increased considerably.
Okay.
It's like you're purchasing something. You're purchasing the same thing by paying a higher price.
Hmm.
So this is what we term as inflation.
Yeah.
So when inflation happens, the value of your assets decreases. Gold is treated as something which will hedge you against the inflation.
Okay.
The period, say if you assume a data for the past 20 years, I mean 20, 20, 30 years, it can easily be said that gold has appreciated 10 times, 10 to 12 times.
Hmm.
So that means had you bought something for 10 rupees, now it will be for 120 or 130 or 140, 150 rupees.
Okay.
So in that way, gold is always an asset which act as a hedge against your inflation. It beats inflation, and that's primarily because gold is considered as a safest haven.
Okay.
Globally, we don't have a single currency. Though dollar is considered as a currency, a global currency, but still people prefer to have a hedge against dollar also. Because what happened, the impact of currency increases or decreases with respect to the economic activities of the country also.
Hmm.
So in that eventuality, I can't take chance with respect to I cannot store gold dollars. So what I can do is I can buy gold.
Yeah.
And it can be used for my consumption. It can be used for my investment.
Yeah.
And today, you see, earlier we had a very strict regime where my gold has to be in bars or it has to be in the form of jewelry.
Hmm.
For the past 4-5 years, Government of India has come with this unique called sovereign gold bonds.
Okay.
Wherein you can hold the golds in demat form. It's a paper form where they quote the particular gold in terms of grams. Say 1 gram, you can buy for a value defined by government. It will fetch an interest for you. Like if suppose you're buying a gold, say for 100 rupees, it's 100 rupees worth asset until unless you sell it for 112 and realize the 12 rupees. Here, the sovereign gold bonds has an interest rate of 2.5% payable.
Okay.
So the advantage is you can assume that I'm putting my money in a savings bank account, because more or less savings bank account also gives me the same rate of return.
Mm-hmm.
But here and the good aspect is, if suppose you are buying a gold bond today for 100 rupees and it has a tenure of 8 years, I mean as of now the Government of India is issuing the bond for a period of 8 years. Okay. So if today I buy a bond for 100 rupees, after 8 years it becomes 150 rupees. The incremental 50 will not have a tax implication.
Okay.
So like it can act as a tooth way. If it is an investment, you have made a 50 rupees, or if it is an asset which you're buying for a later date consumption. Suppose you want to buy for your daughter, or you're buying for your own self. Say after 5 years or after 8 years, I want to make a jewelry out of it. You're like, it's like you're preponing your budget. You're preponing your purchase today itself.
Yes, exactly.
Because you are having cash, so you're preponing it. Yeah. And the good thing is, if you don't want to hold for 8 years and you want to dispose it off, you can do it off market, like in the stock market.
Okay.
They are traded through stock markets. You can you have a demat. You can place a sell order. The moment it gets executed, within 2 to 3 days, the money will get to your account. Okay. But here the problem is, you have to pay tax on the profit which you are going to make.
Okay.
And that also has a benefit of indexation. So what you purchase something for 100 rupees, say you are selling for 115 rupees after 3 years. It is not necessary that 15 rupees entire will be taxed.
Okay.
you'll get something called benefit of indexation. Indexation means what if the price, what will be the price had you bought today? I mean, the 100 will be indexed to such an extent that it will not be 100, it will be 104 or 105 or 106. And from 106, you'll be calculating your sale price, and on the incremental only, you'll be paying the tax.
Okay. So what is one thing you will say that how much percentage should I diversify my finance into gold, if I wanted to say?
It differs from situation to situation. You see, the current situation, which is prevalent globally, here we all assume, or it's more or less a confirm that we are going to face a recession in the years to come. I mean, at least for next year, which we foresee.
Okay.
So in that situation, when economic activity doesn't take place, the cost of money is bound to fall.
Okay.
That is by virtue of lower interest rate. I mean, if you're in a growth economy, the interest will be bit more higher, where you'll get your returns. If suppose you are putting something in FD today, FD costs you 5.2% to 5.10, 5.7%. Your equity market has rallied, but you cannot say that it will continue the momentum, because people buy shares only in the expectation that in future the company will earn more profit and my prices will rise up. But in a situation where economic slowdown is there, it is a conclusive evidence that we will not able to generate sufficient return. So in that scenario, to hedge against the fall in the value of currency or money, people will just go to gold as a safe haven. Okay. So in this scenario, you may allocate more of your investment to gold because you foresee an appreciation in the price of gold.
Yes.
So what you'll do? Okay, I'll, instead of putting 10% or 20% of my savings, I'll put 30 or 40%, 30% or 15%, 20%. I mean, according to your, your risk allocation. Sometimes what happened when, like you see, for the past 6 to 7 years, gold has not performed well. So in that scenario, people were comfortable placing, say, 5% or 7% of their equity, of their asset allocation to gold.
Okay. So
allocation, you cannot say, you cannot pinpoint that, no, I have to put 20% every year, I have to put 15% every year. It depends on the with respect to what you're going to do with the particular investment, whether you're going to consume it or going to keep it invested. So in that scenario, you can reduce it, say, 15%, or you can increase it to, say, 20%, or you can keep it at 10%. So the investment strategy also varies with respect to the market conditions.
Okay, that's fine, Manu. And in fact, when I spoke about gold, is that it actually helps us even to buy our first asset or our home. When I say we liquidate the gold for some amount, so that it was really helping us to get that. So thanks for demystifying thoughts about gold, what people generally have. Thanks for that. The next question, what we directly want to come into that, how we have to plan the income tax saving instruments so that there will be a kind of a good maximum gain for people, or is it really needed? If I want to really do it for income tax saving, should I want to focus only that and have to do that? So that is my next question. Which
really need or can be left out. It is purely an individual choice. And for the same reason, Government of India has come up with a new taxation structure in this policy, in this budget, where they said that you don't pay any, you pay me XYZ percentage of taxes. I will not give you the benefit of any of your savings. So in that scenario, if suppose I have a 10 lakh worth of my income, in the new regime, I have to pay only 75,000 rupees as tax. Okay. That's it. In case you don't, in case you are saving, what happens? In case of savings and you opt for new regime, you'll be at loss.
Okay.
Because you're not going to get any benefit. But whereas if you stick to the old regime, where I was having the benefit of standard deductions, my house property loss, my ATC, my ATCCD, and my insurance premium, then probably I'll be having a good amount of saving. You can say, like, no, it will be close to, say, I'll be saving 22 to 23,000 rupees on an income of 10 lakhs if I assume that I'm doing everything as per the ATC. And it's always good. You see, today no company gives you an employment without deducting your PF. So there is a compulsive deduction on your salary, which makes feel that no, you're taking a lesser amount to your home.
Yeah.
So as you're already saving, why don't you get the benefit of it? But again, there's a question which says no, that why I should be compelled to compensate the next additional 1 point. Suppose your compulsive PF is say 50,000 rupees. To get the additional benefit, I have to put one more lakh.
Yeah.
But you just assume that 1 lakh not only gives you a 20% savings, but also a source of income. It's an investment.
Yes.
So on any given day, I'll prefer to have a scenario where I invest for tax savings also.
Yeah.
Okay, a person who doesn't have any say regular source of income and he just earns through other means, he can opt for this. Like no, where I'll say, okay, I don't want to pay tax. I want to pay reduced tax because I'm not going to save anything which will be for the purpose of saving tax. So in this scenario, all the salaried classes, I'll always advise that it's better we go with your old regime where I was getting a benefit of say close to 2 lakhs on your home loan, then 50,000 for standard actions, 1.5 for this. So close to you're making 4.5 lakhs of roughly or thereabout is getting out of your tax scenario.
Yeah, that's good. And once when you are saying about this PF, I remember that during this pandemic time, even I was able to shell out some money for keeping in reserve from PF. So that is
like as the government of India has given a grant, no, that you can withdraw X percentage of your money from 3 months salary from your PF.
Yes.
I mean that was really beneficial because many people know, especially in private sector where they have to take a pay cut. So this has really helped. And moreover, you can define what way I'm going to make my tax savings instruments also. It can be long term also, it can be short term. Long term, you have your PF, your PPF, your UPF, you have this national savings certificates, your Sukanya Samruddhi specifically for girl child. Then you have your insurance premium. And mid-term, you can go for the 5-year fixed deposits and your ELSS, equity link, which has a 3 years of lock-in period. Generally, these also gives you a decent return in the sense of upward of 8.5% which you get from your fixed.
Yeah. So that was my next question. That is how one should go about creation of assets. Let it be buying a home, or else let it be buying a utility like a car, or even taking a dream vacation, right? Which they wanted to go for abroad, where you want to have some good amount of inflow for that. So how we have to plan for a long term as well as short term goals. It's like long term, you said few schemes you have covered now. Mainly from short term perspective, also what we have to consider in mind while we do that.
Perfect. So when you join an organization, when you get your paycheck, the initial allocation should also go for because I know as I got a job, after some year I'm going to buy my house, meaning that because for a typical middle class, that's a dream that to own a house. So what you should, when you go to buy a home, it happens that you have to pay something upfront. Because you cannot get the entire amount as home loan from your lender. So what you can do is, you can plan in the initial stage itself, like the moment you get into a job, okay, this much amount I'm going to allocate yearly for the down payment of my home, which I'm going to buy after say 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, when the situation permits. When I'm financially stable enough to afford a house. Because generally today, if you go, any middle-sized property will cost you say 50 to 60 lakhs.
Yes.
And then there's thumb rule that you don't put more than 5 years or 6 years of your income as your home loan. As an asset, home as for your living purpose. So in that scenario, if suppose you're saving say for 5 years, you could able to get at least 15% to 20% of your corpus ready by the time you reach the time when you're going to go for the buying of your property. So what will happen? Your 15% upfront money which you needed will be sponsored by your savings, initial savings, and 85% as the housing lending agency gives, you can go from your home loan agencies.
Okay, so that's a good deal. How about your short vacations you have planned? Any tips for that?
Short vacation, generally what I do is I invest in mutual funds.
Okay.
So if suppose 2 years ago when I planned my 4 years ago when I planned my first trip.
Yeah.
It was I planned in 2016 I planned for 2018 trip. So I ensured that I put my money in mutual funds where I have visibility and where I track it properly.
Okay.
Because what happened now, tracking is also equally important. When they say long-term investment, that doesn't mean that you put it and you forget it.
Okay.
You just view, but that doesn't mean that daily morning you log into Money Control or Economic Times and just see the share prices or the NAVs of mutual fund. It doesn't work. It's a long-term, but still, you see, there are many companies who are doing good 10 years ago and no more exist.
Yeah.
Nokia is a classical example. In 2000, in the year 2000, it was upward of $200 billion. Now it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you have to just see where I invest, and it has to be not regularly monitored but gradually monitored in a time frame. So what happens if suppose you're putting your money, say you have a budget of say 4 lakh rupees, what you assume that I may get say 10% return for 2 years, you will be close to earning a lakh rupees. I mean 12% at 12%, 12.5, you're earning lakh rupees. So what you do, either you can go through for a SIP mode, or if you have invested residual amount which you can put in bulk, you invest it. And nowadays no, you have in mutual funds you have direct plans where no, you can get rid of all this agency commission which they charge generally.
Yeah.
A direct plan is a cheaper plan when compared to the what you go through your brokerage and all. No? If suppose you have a demat account and you want to buy a mutual fund, so you can buy it. It is a convenient thing, but the problem is he'll be charging something. And that price that is called regular will be expensive than your direct plan. Its direct plan is it's very simple. You log into any of your website of a mutual fund, any mutual fund. You just give your PAN number or Aadhaar number. He'll do your KYC, and that's it.
Okay.
You just give your bank mandate that every month I know this much is my SIP amount, and you'll get deducted.
Yeah.
So with the technology, I think everything has become so convenient that you don't need a financial expert to advise people that you need this, because it's everything is easily available and readily available in the public domain.
Yeah, exactly. Even I have heard about the Zerota online platform where they can try out all these.
The discount brokerage. I mean, like the more you trade, the more discount you get.
Yes, that is nice about that. And the next question is that mainly for women, I want to ask, that is, what are the schemes to ponder on in each phase of women's life? Let it be when a single person aspiring for higher studies, or else after she gets married and has dependents, and even for single mother who has a lot of responsibility when she's a single mother, right? So I like to hear about schemes that each of these face, what women can take by themselves and they can start investing on.
Now, first and foremost, I'll suggest the moment you have taken an insurance policy, you have ensured that your family is insured. Because we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Life is so unpredictable, because 6 months ago, no one was thinking that we will be interacting with people in this way.
Yes.
So life has changed so drastically that we cannot confirm that what will happen tomorrow. So for the same reason, to mitigate to just eliminate that risk element, first thing, you get your life insurance done. And that should be what I recommend. I generally tell my friends or my colleagues is that you ensure that what is your expenses today. You should have a corpus which put in a bank FD at 5% 5 to 6% interest should be able to match your current savings. Because it's always in the absence of a family member, it's always difficult to digest their absence. But it is even worse when you have financial problem also.
Exactly.
So like people will tend to move on. They will tend to move on the loss of a person, but it is very difficult for them to continue with the momentum when you don't have finances. So I always say term policy first. Subsequent to that, you also take a medical insurance.
Okay.
Medical insurance must, because today many of the companies are providing you with the insurance coverage, but they may not be sufficient enough in case God forbid, if suppose we get some life-threatening disease.
Yes, exactly.
So in that case, you see, I have seen many big companies, they offer 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs and all, but today the medical cost has risen up so exponentially that for 6 to 10 lakhs you won't get anything. And again, it will eat up your investments. So I always suggest you have a medical policy which will take care of these exigencies. Once you're done with this, then you can think about the investment which you go to do. So it's always better that you start early. as Albert Einstein said, no, compounding interest is the eighth wonder. Because as a simple thing, if suppose you put 4 rupees today, we assume that you have 100 rupees as your earnings, you save 40, and that 40 grows at 10%. In the first year, you get 44 rupees. By the term you reach 60, it will be close to 64 rupees. I mean, that's the effect of compounding, which generally, we all ignore. I mean, we are aware of it. But the problem is, it's somewhere down the line, we just keep on ignoring it. We say, okay, it comes because we lack discipline.
Yeah.
That's a primary, that's a only human quality which doesn't allow us to grow rich.
Yeah, got it. Got that.
So the discipline with respect to financial allocation is a must.
Okay.
And moreover, like when you start investing, and I have seen many people, when they switch jobs, they tend to withdraw the PF. I mean, that is one of the worst things which they can do.
Okay.
Because they are not only withdrawing the PF, there is something called EPS, Employee Pension Scheme, also associated with that.
Okay.
So what happened, the moment you withdraw and you say that I'm not going to work anymore, the amount of the service you have put, if suppose you are working as X company for say 5 years, after 5 years you're switching a company, and just to have the fun of getting the money, you say that I'm not going to work, and you withdraw everything, and you go to another company. What will happen? The moment you withdraw, the 5 years EPS benefit also goes off.
Okay.
And now with this UAN, we are somewhat able to link all our previous transactions. So that people has to ensure that the moment they switch job, they transfer the PF and EPS.
Okay.
And the next is what I said. Okay. Once you're done with this, ensure that you set goals for your investments. You don't say that I want my money to be doubled in 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. I mean, that is not a goal. I want money for my kid's marriage.
Yeah.
I want money for his education. I want money for my vacation. I want money for my new car. So in that way, when you start setting the goals, it becomes more realistic. Realistic in the sense that you have a target, and you know how much I have to invest to get there. And one more thing, people say that I want 15% return, 20% return. I mean, that doesn't work. You're not gambling.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes there are funds which has given 20%, 25% in a short time. If suppose you see the market movement, which has happened from March till date, it's close to a gain of say roughly around 35%. So in that scenario, you can assume that in a 6 months I made 35% money, but that is not consistent. You cannot say that today something is at 10,000, tomorrow it will be 13,500. It cannot. It generally doesn't happen. So have a realistic goal. Have a realistic targets where I can say that, okay, I want my money to grow 10%, and that will happen. Because over the period of time, you see any asset class, barring fixed interest bearing funds, they have ensured that your money grows at say 10%, 12% only. And generally it happens for a long period. Okay, like you have the Sukanya Samriddhi.
Yeah.
It gives you today also it gives you close to say 7.6% after so much of reduction in interest rate. So you know that okay, with this much in Excel you can plot it what will be the amount of money which I'll get when my kid is 21 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, 21 years old, she's going to do her post graduation. I need X amount of money. I'm going to put in this. So you have this. Whatever deficiency you have, you can supplement it through some other mode.
Okay.
If you want it for your daughter's marriage, say okay, fine. Whatever is going to, suppose you are able to create a corpus of say 20 lakhs and you need say 40 lakhs for this. So 20 lakhs you can create somewhere else. So when you have a realistic goals, it becomes easier for you to achieve rather than having a financial, I want 10 lakh or 20 lakh, 20 lakh or 40 lakh. That doesn't work. Yeah. Generally, it's a realistic goal with respect to the targets or for the purpose for which I want.
Even I have tried the Suganya Samriddhi for my daughter. For all the daughters or the girl kids, Suganya Samriddhi is one of the policy provided in India. So you can take use of that particular policy.
It's very nice thing, no? When say I start say 1,000 rupees and all, no, the amount it gets compounded.
Yes, exactly.
The benefit of compound, which generally we all know, but we generally ignore it.
Yes, exactly. And other thing, when I was asking this question, I myself was thinking when for my even my higher studies at that time, I didn't have that much of financial clarity, but still I saved my money through microfinance, through chits, by which I was able to attain the goal of completing my masters. So, giving this input about how to save that with respect to target, it is really wonderful. So, people who have different targets in your different phase of life, please aim for that through finance. How we can manage that and we can get through that and sail through that. And coming to the next question is all about this credit card, the world of credit cards, right? Yeah. So no
Plastic
ID,
money.
so no ID holder will be without a credit card. I can say that in this world. And is credit card a boon or bane? What you would say about that? What is your view on that?
No, it's like no how you put to use. I mean, there are pros, there are cons, there are positives and negatives. I just start with negative. See,
Hmm.
credit card is a pakka no to a person who's reckless with respect to spending,
Hmm.
who is no he is an impulsive buyer. No, it
Got
happens now. You see, I've seen big billion say, okay, here, I'm getting something for 30% off, buy it. Whether you're going to use it or not, I don't know.
yeah.
So it is not for a credit card is a complete no for a person
Hmm.
who just goes by his wants, not by his needs. So I mean, people who have the tendency of like okay, he has bought something, so I have to buy. I mean, credit card is not for those people because you have something which which you have to repay, but you still go with a sort of ego that no, I have this card, so I'll buy it. I'll see what happens tomorrow.
Hmm.
So I mean that way, you are literally you are just pushing yourself back with respect to your financial discipline. And the second point, no, the amount of hidden charges. I won't say hidden charges because they say upfront that no, you'll be charged 3% or you'll be charged 2.8%, something like that. So that costs you much.
Hmm.
Because you see, like if suppose you buy something today for 100 and you have to pay 3 rupees interest on it, so automatically no, your cost of acquisition goes to by 3%. And there are many people who just no, just pushes the limit and again they struggle. If suppose what if no, if suppose a person has bought something XYZ and the company says okay, you go out from the no,
Yeah.
literally he'll be in dire straits. No, he doesn't know how to pay back the money,
Yes.
and for that he has to pay interest.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that these two aspects of people has to keep in mind before they apply for even a credit card. But I won't say that no, these are the negative aspects, but there are quite a few positive aspects also. It's a simple thing, no. If I am a very disciplined spender, I know I'm going to use it only for my needs. I get a credit period of say 50 days, or I mean, as per the card terms, a desired days on for which I enjoy the benefit. I keep the money with me. I have the thing with me. I'm enjoying the benefit of the thing, but I have to pay it say after 30 days. So I
Hmm.
mean, it is one of better instrument of buying
Hmm.
without taking hit on your ego or something like that. Because when he gives you card, no, when you borrow from someone, psychologically you have the tendency that yeah, I owe him.
Yeah.
But when I use credit card, that tendency doesn't come. So
Exactly.
that's what makes us to overshoot our budget also.
Hmm.
If
That's
suppose you're going for a home loan and your budget is at 50 lakhs, at the max you can stretch for 52, 50, 55.
yeah.
But if suppose there's a credit card which gives you a limit of say 5 lakhs and your monthly income is 1 lakh, if you are reckless, you may end up spending 2 lakhs also. And what you'll do, you'll say, okay, I have one more credit card, I'll finance this credit card bill from that, and you just keep on getting into the cycle of a, a more of a burden.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
and today's digital environment, I believe that credit card is a must.
Yeah. And some mistakes what I did is that when I initially got into my job, I also bought one credit card, and I was not aware that they put some extra fine for not paying that. And finally I ended up paying that amount and closed that credit card. I said no to credit card. But
But
after
how rectifying? Because I still remember, no, one of my friend paid. He purchased something. He just ordered something in Swiggy for say 300 rupees,
mm,
and he completely forgot that no, he had got that in the card, and he just somehow missed the payment. And next month when he got the credit card statement, like he got a statement, he forgot it. Next
mm,
month when he paid 70 rupees charge.
mm.
Though his initial expenses was only 300, just because he skipped one payment, they have imposed 70 rupees charges. And
That's true.
And like no, the one more good thing about the credit card is no, nowadays with all the features and all, they will give you where you're spending. So there is no need for you to track. Like as on date, close to my 90% expenses are paid through my credit card. So what happened? I have a track because there is no need for me to maintain a track where I'm investing. It's that the person, he gives me a pie chart or whatever chart is available, he will give me. He'll say, okay, these are the places where you spend. This is your food, this is your transport, this is your travel, this is your insurance, stuff like that. So it makes it it's act as a spend analyzer for me also.
Yeah, that's true. That's nice.
And third point, which I'm very fond of, is the offers which we get. See, like on a Big Billion Day sale, if you buy from say X card, they'll say I'll give you 10% cash back. Though for a person who's not impulsive spender, but he say what I do is in the beginning of the year I'll say, okay, these are the things which I want to have during this in this year at my home. So I'll be waiting for these occasions.
Okay.
So if suppose I have to buy a laptop, I have to buy a printer. So I'll just be okay. This year I have to buy a printer. So for that, what I have to wait for the occasion. A Big Billion sale comes, an Amazon sale comes, I'll buy. At that time, this double whammy is when they say you pay through this card and get 10% cash back.
Yes, exactly.
And that act as a saving. It's like you want the thing. It is not your want. It is your need also.
Yeah.
You need at a discounted price, at a cashback, and whatever you spend, you get reward points. So it invariably happens that every Diwali when I go for purchasing of the new clothes and all, I don't spend even a single paise. Whatever rewards point I have accumulated, I'll encash those, I'll get the coupons, and I'll spend.
That's really good takeaway for people. The need as well as
Generally, the perception is credit card is bad. Credit card is not at all bad. It is bad only for those people who are impulsive buyer and who don't maintain discipline with respect to the payment date.
Yeah. So guys, please note this point. If you are an impulsive buyer, just start bringing a financial discipline to it and figure out by when you can start using your credit card.
Well, if they are so adamant on paying through card, I'll prefer to suggest those impulsive buyers use debit card.
Debit card, right. That's true. And next question is that about this early retirement concept, which current generation folks are all looking for, right? So then the question is that are we able to reach this early retirement through our normal working mode, and will be able to shell out money or plan for early retirement through our saving? And is there any schemes for that? What do you say about that? Without any legacies also acquiring?
The main thing here also what we lack is a personal traits. The moment you have discipline, the moment you have patience, the moment you have planning, I think you can achieve this. Where we go, we will plan, we will not execute. We'll plan, we'll execute, will not be disciplined.
Yeah.
We'll plan, we'll execute, will not be patient.
Yeah.
So the moment you combine all these the four elements, you can achieve. A simple logic, if suppose a person at the age of 25, he starts investing 10,000 rupees assume in a mutual fund, which on average say give a 12%. By the the basic logic, it keeps on doubling every 8th or 9th year. If you assume that at 10% my investment doubles at every 8th year, by the time I reach my 50, it will be 32 rupees. I mean, the 4 rupees which I told earlier,
Yeah.
If you put that 4 rupees concept, at 10%, it will be at 32 rupees, 31 rupees. So you can assume that your money has worked to such an extent. And you just define what percentage of your expenses. It should be equally supplemented by your income. You say, at the age of 25, I have an income of 100 rupees and I spend 45, I save 40, and I pay taxes 15. So this is a breakup of this. This 40 will give you 4 rupees in the first year itself.
Okay.
So the accumulation over the period of happens, the way it happens, by the time of 50, the other income, that is a 4, I'm not considering as a part of income. It is called as other income because you're not earning from your main source. Your main source happens to be a salary or business.
Okay.
I mean, the free income, it's not a free income, it's an income which you're generating from other sources, will be more or less equal to the percentage of expenses you're going to spend at your 50th year. Because at the age of 50, If suppose you are able to say spend 50% of your income or 55% income, the initial savings and the subsequent build up to the corpus will ensure that you end up having the same amount of savings or same amount of return equivalent to your percentage of expenses. So it is quite possible, but the only problem is we are not disciplined. If you are disciplined, no, it's like no. Someone asked Warren Buffett, how you are able to make money. He said, he just when he spoke, he told it's quite easy. So why people are not making money? They told for that you need patience. Everyone wants to be a billionaire or millionaire overnight, and that doesn't happen.
Rome can't be built on single day, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point which you have given for us, Mano. And now it is a verge of tax filing time, right? So you wanted to say anything specifically for people who want to do the tax filing and who goes to auditors for filing their tax. So how easy for everyone to do their tax filing by end of July?
But tax filing is a very simple activity as of now. I mean, what it used to be say 10 or 15 years ago, when you used to file in Excel, you have to do all this, you have to go to auditors. Now it has become so, that you have all the guides available, it's online. And generally what happens, like a big chunk of people, they have only salary income. As they grow, they'll have this house income loss. And as they start investing, they will have other income. So initially the people who starts, they will have only salary income. So for that case, no, it's online is as simple as anything. You go there, log in, and the basic thing is like the advantage which you get from filing income tax return not only saves your time but also money.
Yeah.
Because I can say roughly in 15 to 20 minutes you can file an income tax return if you have only salary income.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys like this topic, please give your comments about it. You have any queries on your tax savings or wealth management, please comment in our channel, and we have Mano to answer all those queries what we have. And if you want many more videos on this, please let us know what are the topics which you want us to have a video on, and let's all file our income tax by this month end, and let's take all the simple tips which Mano has given now for our wealth management, especially for women, and let's make a wealthy India as well as wealthy homes. Thanks, Mano, for your time.
Thank you.